Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 16998 Southwest Riken Park Circle here in Sherwood, located at the front of the house. I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the home. We're off to the right of the front doorway, in front of the big window here, and also where all the pavers are, or the slate. Anyhow, I noticed a piece of the slate was kind of sticking up a little higher than the rest. Sure enough, there's the 4-inch ABS cleanout. So I'm not sure if it's because I went to take my wrench to this thing and remove the cap, and the whole entire thing comes off. Someone has taken a sawzall of this and cut the cleanout cap in half. I'm not sure if it was to lower it so that the slate sat nicer, or if someone had a harder time getting the cap to come off of there. Anyway, this is something you don't want your cleanout like this. It's very lucky that this is bedded down in very soft, fine dirt. Because there's no way to secure this thing in place. So if someone bumps that funny, you can cave all kinds of dirt and nonsense into the sewer line here. So at the very least, you want to put an expanding wing nut cap in here. It will fit right into there, or fairly flush anyway. This is cut a little goofy. Ideally, though, I would put a regular clean out cap on there. You can even lower this down if you do that, so that slate sits a little nicer. But I just wanted to go over that really quick at the start here. So anyway, checking the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out here at the base of the clean out. Off we go. In fact, you can see how dirt has fallen down inside here. This is dry, caked on stuff that, anyway, stuff can get into there if you're not careful. Most concerning would be, if you have little kids playing around out here and they find that. Just don't want stuff going down the sewer line. And there was a little bit easier way to do that. Cutting the cap out would have made that a little simpler, but anyway, it is what it is. This is as simple though as you'd have to dig down here. If you wanted to put a proper thread-on style clean out on this, you'd have to dig around that clean out, about probably 16, 18 inches to get it down. Cut the old clean out flange off the top of it and glue a new one in place. Pretty simple fix. In the world of sewer repair, that's about as simple as it gets right there. And unless something falls down inside of the line, it has no bearing on functionality at all. Now we're transitioning here over to 4-inch 3034 PVC pipe. There is just the slightest little tiny baby offset joint right there. In fact, I think what they likely did was, because they didn't have an angled piece for that particular angle, they kind of bent the pipe slightly, or bent it at the joint there to put an angle on it. That's likely what created that little tiny lip. Anyway, the joint is sealed up, and that lip has zero bearing on anything. It's too tiny to do anything. Just a visual blemish. And whoever's living here is keeping this thing unbelievably clean. This is remarkable looking. As a household is doing a very good job at not dumping all their bacon grease and cooking oil down the sink. We're doing a great job of that. There's also an ejector pump in this line. If you're unfamiliar with that, the bottom floor, this street in particular here, the main lateral is not deep enough to grade a sewer line out from the basement floor level. You'd need a main that was probably 12, 13, 14 feet deep, which is pretty uncommon on these these newer neighborhoods that don't generally have basements in them. So anyway, everything on the bottom floor is being serviced by an ejector pump. That does require power to function properly. So if there's ever a power outage, don't use your bottom floor plumbing. Your upstairs is gravity fed, thank goodness, but the bottom floor is not. So you can always correct that with a generator if necessary. Best thing to do is just simply not use it, because the tank will overload at a certain point. But one of the advantages with those things, if the basement is lived in on a frequent basis, and that pump is going off, they often keep your line much cleaner than the average sewer line, because they're blasting 5, 10, 15 gallons of water down the line instantaneously. They almost act like an in-house jetting machine to an extent. So some advantages that come from having those things working on a frequent basis. Anyway, if you ever hear, there's generally an alarm system on them. If you ever hear a very loud, high-pitched noise, it's a alarm that the pump has failed. If you ever hear that, obviously don't use the plumbing down there on the bottom floor, basement floor, and call a plumber. Pumps usually have from the plumbers I talk to, I usually get the consensus it's about a 7 to 10 year life on those pumps, but it does depend on the brand as well as how often they are used. The more you use them, the faster they're going to burn out. When you go to switch your pump out, when that does happen at some point, what I've always been told to recommend to people is Zoller. Use the Z word. They're a specialized pump. They have grinder systems built into them. They're specialized and made for, or specifically for plumbing purposes. A lot of them are modified boat pumps. Zollers make very good pumps. That are, some of them are rated to blend up a pair of blue jeans. They're that strong. So they grind everything up into a slurry to help prevent things from getting stuck in the sewer line. So anyway, we're going to go locate the camera head really quick here. While the line drains out, we'll take a second look at everything.